fleet of boats. Join the club, and as often as you like, you can do water sports, inshore fishing, offshore fishing, sandbar hopping, dining on the water, or just cruising around town. Visit us at the St. Augustine Shipyard or stop by any of our locations to see what the Boatsiers experience is all about. Visit us at freedomboatclub.com.
Here's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, sponsored by Fenwick Home Services. This evening, Florida and Mississippi meet in the second SEC game for both teams. Both teams are coming off losses in their league debuts. You can hear it live on 1010XL. Pre-game starts at 8:30. FSU head coach Mike Norvell says he's fired up to have transfer Malik Benson join the Knoll program. Malik says Coach Norvell's energy attracted him to the Seminoles.
Seeing how Coach Norvell treats me, and then when his players come in, the energy drop off there's no drop off at all.
The Gators hired a new defensive coach from Auburn, Ron Roberts. He's expected to be the executive head coach for defense, co-defensive coordinator, and linebacker coach. Roberts is another member of Gator head coach Billy Napier's roots during his tenure with the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. That's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm Sam Nelson.
At 10:01, it's 47 degrees. Time at 10, brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
At this time, I haven't. I'm still processing everything. Obviously we just finished the season, so I'm going to take the next little bit here and think about everything. Obviously with the way we finished, and it's not where we want to be, obviously, and I got to take all this into consideration. When you struggle offensively, like we did at times, I don't care who's calling plays. You might as well look at that thing with your eyes closed and just pick a play, quite honestly, because it's hard. It's difficult. I've been there. And, you're trying to find that one play or a spark that gets your offense rolling. And with the struggles that we had at times, that's a difficult thing to do, to try to, whether it's in the run game or the pass game.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and
hold my pocket,
Dylan Denmark.
All right, everybody, good morning. One day further removed from the debacle that was the collapse that ended the Jaguars season, losing 5 of their last 6 as we continue to tiptoe into the 2024 offseason, which stinks before the NFL playoffs have even begun. That's the position the Jags find themselves in. Good morning, Tony Smith. How are you?
Doing well.
Pockets. Morning.
Were you able to get in some golf balls?
Yeah, a little bit. It was a little windy, but
the tornadic conditions.
Yeah, I got just in time.
Yeah, I went to the range, but they probably wisely opted not to have it open yesterday. As I thought about it, with tornado warnings or watches in effect, all they needed were bunch of range balls crashing through people's living room windows with pretty clear evidence that they could understand the conditions probably warranted them picking those balls up first.
Yeah, I was just laying around watching Justified, and I can hear it sounded like the world was ending outside. I was like, maybe I need to turn on the news.
Have you seen Justified?
Yeah.
Before you've seen it start to finish, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just felt like watching it again.
Because it's great.
Yeah, because it's awesome. And so I was like listening to outside, and I thought I heard something crash. I was like, all right, turn on the news. Like, I know there's a serious storm here. And when I flipped on the news, basically there was a yellow box over my neighborhood. Not on the street, over my neighborhood. Tornado warning for this specific area.
Your house is
where
in
we're
danger.
seeing the rotation. I was like, oh. I'm glad I turned it on.
You're okay. We hope everybody else was.
Then it moved
today.
over to Bayard. Nothing hit the house.
Jags had, a tornado rip through the defensive coaching staff.
They did.
Right? I guess you could put it that way. And saw that report.
Many wish it had made more touchdowns.
Right, or lingered longer and sucked up the offensive
really
staff
done
or
some
portions
damage.
of it,
Yeah.
maybe visit the front office. And I think you have to believe at this point, after Doug Peterson makes a further statement about staff changes, that the staff changes that are going to be made have been made at this point. And we can certainly continue to debate and argue and question whether enough moves have been made. Should Press Taylor have been let go, for instance? Should Trent Baalke have been let go, although that's not a Doug Peterson decision? I suppose that one could still happen. I don't get the sense that, other than now filling the holes left, I mean, including the entire defensive side of the coaching staff. And I'm presuming, Tony, maybe they have somebody in mind. That's been the speculation because they acted so quickly on that. But whether they do or not, I get once you get rid of the coordinator, what this signals to me is they're going to let the new coordinator hire his own staff, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to hamstring him by saying, oh, we want you, but you got to take on this guy, that guy, the other guy. Maybe you say, hey, there are a couple of guys that you take a look at, but they blew them all out. So it's going to be a clean sweep. And we saw the report from Josina Anderson on Twitter or X, whatever, that unnamed people on the way out were saying they're getting rid of the solutions. I'm paraphrasing here. The problems are remaining. Like they're getting rid of the wrong people. Now, you got to take that somewhat with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
If you're the one getting fired, you're probably not thinking you're the one who most deserved getting fired.
Right. And they're not saying anything that the fan base doesn't feel. Right?
Correct.
Like it's not like anyone walking out the door that's saying, you know what, there's probably some guys on the offensive side of the ball that should be holding the bag on this too, right? Like those kind of things. It's not like the fan base is saying, no, that's ridiculous. Like, they get it, right? And if Press Taylor had been among the firings, people would have understood it. They would have probably cheered it, right? If that's the decision they had made. You can call it scapegoat, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever happened with Mike Caldwell. But I don't think he did a good enough job that his job should have been safe. Press Taylor certainly, I don't think, did a good enough job that his job should have been safe. Here in Jacksonville, Trent Baalke hasn't done a good enough job that his job should be safe here in Jacksonville, but they've made the decisions that they've made. They're going to go into this offseason with the pieces that they have in the building that they're keeping staying at this point.
Right. Look, whether we agree with it or not, I would start over in the front office. I don't think it's been good enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, you reach a certain level, and sometimes, look, after a certain point, 9-8 is not going to be good enough, right? For right now, me personally, not even a thought in my mind about Doug Peterson's job security. Mm-hmm. That's me. Others may feel differently about it, but that's me coming in, going 9-8, winning the division, going 9-8, and to have 9-8, have a winning season be a disappointment around here is a sign that the bar is being raised in Jacksonville. Now, go 9-8.
Well, not just 9-8's a disappointment. 9-8, it's the biggest collapse in franchise history.
I get it. But
it's both.
It is both. But it's not enough for me to fire Doug Peterson over a 5-6 finish when he did win, 17 went 17-11 in the regular season up until that 5-6 finish. It was pretty good, especially taking over a team that had back-to-back number one overall picks. Now, you reach a point where just treading water around the 500 mark is not good enough. To me, they're just not at that point yet. Let me see how next year plays out. If they go 8-9 next year and miss the playoffs, or if they squander things down the stretch, we'll have another conversation about it next year. But that's for me right now. Others may feel differently. I think there are some definite things that need changing around here, whether you've got a new GM, a new offensive coordinator or not. There's plenty of things that need fixing on this team. We're going to go into detail on a number of those today. And, I mean, it may not be the same thing for everybody. Like, a lot of people are going to say the biggest offseason priority, based on where things stand at this moment, some will say, hey, it's fire Press Taylor, it's fire Trent Baalke. And that's fine if that's what your priority is. It's not one of my priorities because I don't think it's going to happen. I think I'm going to focus on things today that, regardless of who the OC is, can improve this football team, regardless of who the general manager is, can improve this football team. Now, part of it is the general manager plays a key role in selecting the new talent that comes here to fix some of the issues that they have. So I get that, but that doesn't mean that, like Trent Baalke, every move he makes isn't horrible. He did sign Christian Kirk, and he did sign Evan Ingram, and some of these guys have been really key contributors to the Jags. He also, I'm not trying to sit here and say that he's been this great GM. He's failed on a raft of draft picks that have made minimal to no impact over the last couple of years. Some of them have. Great. Trayvon Walker came on. I'm happy with Trayvon Walker as a player. That doesn't mean he was the right pick with the number one overall spot. You've got the choice of anybody. You better take the best guy in the entire thing, not just a guy who turns out to be pretty good. And we like Trayvon. All that's fine. So today I'm going to focus on things that can get fixed because I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, you know what, retaining Josh Allen. I absolutely think that's one of the key things this team needs to do this offseason, regardless of whether that's Trent Baalke signing him, regardless of whomever they sign at defensive coordinator. It really doesn't matter. If you let that guy walk out the door, you're going to be like less than zero from where you started last year. You're going to be so far in the hole, you don't need to create new issues for this football team. There are plenty of issues, as we found out as the season played out. So today, your Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day, simply asking you, as it stands at this moment, keep it in mind, like at this moment, Calvin Ridley's a free agent. Josh Allen's a free agent or a free agent to be, right? They're not under contract for 2024. Right. So that's where things stand right now. What do you think the three biggest offseason priorities are for the Jaguars? If that's to you still major staff changes or front office, that's fine. You're welcome to express that. Just know you're probably not going to get your wish, right? And that's okay. If that's what you want to focus on today, you focus on whatever you think the three biggest offseason priorities are for the Jags. I mean, the list is so extensive that I think we could do like a top 15 list easily today and probably not duplicate each other's entire lists, top to bottom. All right, so if you want to get in today, 641-1010 on the All-Pro Roofing phone lines or on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. You can hit us up on the YouTube chat or hit us up today on the X or Twitter at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, and at 1010XL Denmark.
Hold my pocket.
All right, Johnny O going to be along in the next hour today as we'll get into, the offseason that lays out ahead of us. But we're looking for your three biggest offseason priorities for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't have to rank them necessarily 1, 2, 3, but you can if you want to. Whatever that happens to be, I've gotten 1 Fire, 2 Trent, and 3 Baalke. That's come in. I'm not unexpected. And again, focus on whatever you want. I really think that, and now's the time, right? Express it now. Maybe it's still up in the air. Mike Vrabel was a bit of a surprise firing yesterday, although it's not completely out of the blue. That had been talked about as a possibility that he wouldn't be back in Tennessee. So things could still shift. It doesn't all have to happen the Monday after the season ends, but I don't get the sense that there's even any discussion in Jaguar circles. The only person it could come from is the owner, Shad Khan, and it's not like he's calling me up telling me that Baalke's safe or not safe, but I don't see any smoke signals indicating that there's anything on the horizon on that front. So if you want to get in today, you know the ways to do it. John Ogier from Jaguars.com next hour. Let us know what issues you have, maybe with the handling of the coaching staff firings. You see Fred Taylor out there tweeting about the running backs coach being opened up. Hey, look, Fred, don't tease us. Let us know. Do you want the job? Let us know. Because, and somebody said, what is Fred's qualifications to coach? It's Fred Taylor. That's a pretty good one right there. Look, I get it. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you necessarily make a great coach. I happen to think Fred's a really good communicator. Listening to him break down what issues are with running backs and things like that, I think Fred would be a tremendous coach, and he would be a great legacy face to that coaching staff as well. So I don't know how serious he's about that, but I'd be an avid supporter if he does want to dip his toe into those kind of waters. So we'll talk about that and more coming up today with Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark. I'm Mike Dempsey. Keep it right here on Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Wake up to a new year of weight loss and a new body, a new system. It's not just yo-yo dieting. It's not starving yourself. You eat to lose weight, okay? Exercise is great. You don't have to exercise. You don't have to hit the gym. You don't have to have really any sweat equity if you regulate what you're putting in your mouth, what you're eating, what you're consuming, the kind of food you eat, how often you eat it, how much you eat it. Awaken 180 will coach you up in all these departments, lay it all out for you, create a plan that works with your lifestyle, with your goals, and that's the big thing. Hit your goal weight like I did all the way back in September, and they guarantee you free support for life. They've been supporting me and helping me keep that weight off ever since. It's been fantastic. How do you get started? Call 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800. Awaken 180 has over 21,000 customers and over a 98% satisfaction rating. Go online to awaken180weightloss.com and make weight loss an easy part of your New Year's resolution. Awaken 180.
It's another Weight Loss Wednesday. Awaken 180 Weight Loss in the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios, where the pros go. Your home for Gators Hoops is 1010XL.
All the way from Oxford, the Gators and Ole Miss Rebels, tonight at 9 on 1010 AM.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It happens every day. Regular people are winning every single day. Whether it's $500 or $50,000, anybody can win. Because when they win, I feel like I'm winning.
Hi, my name is Kong. I won over $100,000 playing Baccarat. You can pick banker or player, and if you pick the right side, the odds in your favor.
My name is Janelle, and I won a brand new BMW. I screamed, I hollered, that's me, that's me.
Anybody could win at Seminole Hard Rock, Tampa.
Must be 21 to play slot or table games. Gambling problem? Call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Honey-do list around the house just getting longer? First Coast Home Pros has handyman services you can trust. From bathroom remodeling to home repairs, First Coast Home Pros has you covered. Go to firstcoasthomepros.com.
There's something special about Napa Auto Care Centers. They're backed by the national power of Napa and a 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty. But more importantly, your Napa Auto Care Center is locally owned and operated by a strict written code of ethics. Put your vehicle in the hands of ASE-certified technicians you can trust. Find us at jacksnapaautocare.com. David Garrard Mondays on Jaguars Today are brought to you by Auto Fix for Less and Beauclair Express.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we want it, we got to bring it.
My thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
Happy New Year from everyone at Duck Duck Rooter. You know that plumbing issue you've been putting off? Go ahead and add it to your resolution list and let us help. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com.
Frank Frangie here. I was born and raised in Jacksonville, and I love living here. But I also know how bad bugs are in Florida. So I trust Orange Environmental Services to handle all my pest control needs because they've got the best technicians and effective treatment. Their name may be orange, but they think green. Orange Environmental has been serving the First Coast for over 50 years, and they now offer complete lawn maintenance services. Call Orange Environmental Services for peace of mind from bug problems today. Call them at 272-3284. That's 272-3284.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
Electricians, innovators, and tech enthusiasts, listen up. Miller Electric is shaping the future, and we want you to be a part of it. From healthcare and data centers, corporate offices, aviation, and industrial facilities, Miller Electric is powering the most exciting projects in Jacksonville and beyond. We offer not just a job, but a thrilling career with great pay and incredible benefits. Visit us at millercareers.com to apply. Miller Electric, where your skills meet our vision, and equal opportunity employer.
The Florida Forum welcomes tech entrepreneur and philanthropist Steve Wozniak, January 17th. Funds will be raised for a Kids Care Mobile ICU, a neonatal and pediatric critical care transport vehicle. Kids Care vehicles and helicopters safely transport more than 2,200 infants and children a year to Wolfson Children's Hospital. To get your tickets, click thefloridaforum.com or call 202-2886. 202-2886.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Oh No's with Jaguars.com's John Osher. Brought to you by
Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
On 1010XL.
I think it is number one. I think it's the biggest thing, that he has to focus on, moving forward. We just can't have, this amount of turnovers. How we turn the ball over, where we turn the ball, it doesn't matter. We got to protect football. It's the number one thing.
That's the number one thing that Trevor Lawrence needs to work on. It may be, honestly, Tony, I flirted with that being one of the top 3 things that needs to be a priority for the Jags is limiting the turnovers on the offensive side. There's so many things, though, that you can list here. And I think, like a lot of people, improving the offensive line is a priority for me. And you hope that some of that leads to a more effective offense, leads to a more explosive running game, takes some pressure off Trevor Lawrence, gets you, into more effective play action type situations, and all that can have a cascading effect. That doesn't change the fact when he's running with the ball down the field, he can't just drop it.
Sure.
That when bodies are around him in the pocket, that he's been one of the worst fumbling quarterbacks in the National Football League since he became a starter here. Got to be better.
You don't excuse any of that, and as we've been saying throughout this season, I expect more out of Trevor Lawrence. I know he's capable of more. He's a player that was good enough down the stretch last season that he got MVP votes, right? Like, that's how good he was for the back half of last season. He finished 6th in the MVP.
Right, not from us.
Right,
from
the
national
league. Right, like he's good enough to be that kind of player, and it felt like halfway through the year that he was turning it on. Like there was something happening with that, and then everything we're talking about with the offensive line, the run game wasn't working. They lose Christian Kirk. All these different things happen, and he turned the ball over. Right, like all of it was happening at the same time, and even if you felt like, and I did, that Trevor Lawrence was getting ready to have another back half of the season like we saw him have last year, it felt to me like he was on the way to doing that halfway through the season, and then everything else collapsed on top of him. And yeah, the drop in the ball against Baltimore, it's inexcusable. Can't happen. And he knows that. Like, it's just that kind of stuff where fixing turnovers when it's just your guy putting the ball on the ground for no reason, right? There's a difference between that and trying to fit the ball in somewhere and it gets intercepted. Right? Like, that is a completely different thing to me. Like, him trying to make a play and something happening where a defensive guy makes a play too, they're paid very well.
Sure.
To play defense. But when it's just, I'm running, nobody's touching me, ball hits the ground, can't ever happen again.
But there are all kinds of turnovers. There are the turnovers where you hit your receiver right in the chest and he drops it a la this week.
Yeah.
There are the ones where you get a little bit too aggressive trying to make a tight window throw because you're in a situation where you kind of have to go for things.
You got to crank it up, yeah.
But there are also some really bad decisions that he's made.
Sure.
Just in terms of throwing the ball into dangerous situations where it'd be better to throw it away. What we can have is every year waiting for, is this the time Trevor Lawrence is going to turn it on? How about starting off at a higher level, right? And don't take half a season to hit your stride. Had he done that this year, because he had won enough games at that point, could have looked pretty special. But, every one of these games, you don't know which one is going to be the deciding factor. Every one you lose is the one you can point to and say, that's the one that kept us out of the postseason this year. So whether it's back in week 2 where they put 9 points up against Kansas City, it's week 3 where they didn't look like they were ready to play against the Houston Texans. Whenever those losses come, if you had won one more of those games at any point, we'd be talking about, you know what? Hit the reset button. None of it matters now. Let's focus on playing against the Cleveland Browns. Pockets, go ahead and fire up today's 10-10 take, please.
10-10
take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take. Brought to you by J&M Roofing Jacksonville, your storm restoration specialists.
All right, look, Josh Allen, yeah, he's a priority for me. Right, he's probably the number one priority because if you let him walk, you're just setting yourself so far back from where you already are right now. You're creating an even bigger problem than you have or had coming in. But he's a free agent to be, so whether that's franchise tag or long-term extension, you've got to retain Josh Allen. Okay, that's fine. Interior of the offensive line, I don't. For me, those are the two easiest things to point to. There are a myriad of other things that you can look at. that's the low-hanging fruit, though. I think we all look at this offensive line and go, Travis Etienne went from 5.1 yards a carry to 3.8. They couldn't get any push when they had to. It's 3rd and 2, and they decide, well, they did decide to try to run it on 4th down, but, we know how that went when Trevor tried to do the quarterback dive there. But, you get down to the goal line, and you feel like we're not sure we can punch it in from the 1-yard line. That's got to be rectified with the interior of this offensive line. But to me, the thing that takes precedence next over anything, I don't know if it's the word is culture. I don't know if it's chemistry. Something needs to be done to get the right spark in this locker room between not only the players but the coaching staff as well. There's too much in Doug Peterson's comments just about these coaching changes, too much of this, we'll fix it in a meeting. We'll fix it then. This disconnect, why did we practice poorly again? Why do guys seem like they don't have that fire? I don't doubt that players want to win, but it does sometimes look like you show up and you're going through the motions, or you're just, I don't know, expecting to maybe show up and be better than the other team, or whatever it is. There's something that the previous season's team had, this kind of spirit, this intangible quality to them. And maybe it's just because they were in a have-to-win situation from so early in the season that everything goes out the window, and they got on this roll, and it made us feel like they had better chemistry than they did because the results were better. But when you still had that same opportunity in Week 18 this year, and you showed up again with as flat a performance. When I say flat, you let a team that has struggled with their offensive line shove it down your throat the whole day. That's number one. And I'm not saying that the run defense was the biggest problem the whole season. I'm saying it was this week.
Yes, it was.
Okay? But the quote that Josina Anderson got, one coach is leaving the Jaguars, quote, "The solutions are leaving, the problems are staying." Right? And again, we mentioned this early on. I don't expect anybody who gets fired to think, man, that's the right move. Fire me because I'm the problem, right? People don't generally think like that, but it does make me wonder what kind of factions there were. Was there finger pointing? Was the offense blaming the defense? Was the defense blaming the offense? Was it coach versus player? At times, Doug Peterson was saying, hey, look, we're putting them in these all these different positions. They've got to go out and execute, seemingly putting it on the personnel more than the coaching staff. And then he has his end-of-season meetings, and from what Mia is saying yesterday, from the people she's talking to, he's getting a lot of feedback that these coaches on the defensive side had to go. And that decision got made awfully quickly. So what is happening here? Is everybody on the same page? Why do we keep having Doug Peterson step up to the podium after games and talk about, you play like you practice? Well, then how do you not fix that? What was fundamentally broken? And I don't know that I can define it other than better chemistry, better something. It's an intangible quality that I don't know that this team possessed enough of this year.
Yeah, I think we had a listener yesterday who called in, and the question hit my mind while he was talking. We didn't discuss it during the show yesterday, but what you're pointing out brings me back to it. What is the team's identity? What was it at any point in this season? What will it be going into next year?
It should be that you have a young ascending quarterback.
I think they were so caught up in, at one point in this season, that's all they had to bank on. Right? It's that Trevor Lawrence is our guy. Like it felt like halfway through the year, that's all they had at some points. And then he's got the ankle, and he's got the concussion, and he's got the shoulder. And like for them to have any chance, it felt like, okay, he's got to go be Superman for us this week again. And when that wasn't available to him, it was pretty clear that the identity is so tied up in that there was nothing else for them to fall back on.
But if you want to be one of those guys, and the Jags are going to pay Trevor Lawrence an exorbitant amount of money at some point, whether it's this offseason, next offseason,
absolutely, yeah,
it's coming. That's part of the deal, right? What's the identity of the Kansas City Chiefs? It's Patrick Mahomes.
It's Mahomes.
Right? I mean, that's it's not the same for every team. What's the identity of the Ravens? It's Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
It's how that guy plays in large part. Now, there are obviously other components to it. I think at one point early in the season, this team's identity was they had an opportunistic defense, right? That
Yeah.
would
Yeah, and the season
create
proved out how fleeting that is.
It was, but
Yeah.
for that stretch of the season, that's what you could rely on or almost count on or needed to count on. If you were going to have success,
And
the
their
defense
chance
was
to get
creating
back
turnovers.
to whatever the early season magic was them doing that again.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? It's certainly not a team that can physically impose their will on you.
Yeah.
They got pushed around
Like
way
they were,
too much.
They were turning opponents over plenty last year, right? Like that was part of the magic of what happened down that stretch last year is they would get a big turnover in virtually every game. They would force a big turnover in a critical moment when they had to have it and give it back to their guy.
Right, and they also had that guy who was throwing 15 touchdowns against 2 interceptions for the second half of the season. So they had that complementary football that Doug Peterson talked about as well. I just think that's, like, again, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's like a certain defensive coordinator comes in and all of a sudden the chemistry is better on your team. I don't know if it's instead of just having these good football character guys, you got to have a few more guys with that nasty edge to them that refuse to lose under any circumstances.
And with us talking about, the priorities going into the offseason, I agree. I think so much of what this team is and what the identity of the team is going to be, it's going to be tied up in 16. Right? Like that's their identity. It's Trevor Lawrence.
And it should be.
And it should be, which means what do you do in this offseason to highlight that guy? Right? Like this offseason needs to be about what we can do to allow 16 to be the centerpiece of everything we're doing and allow him to be as successful as he can possibly be.
That being said, okay, if you could have the best center available, be that in the draft,
whoever it is,
in free agency, whoever the best center is that you could add to your team, would you rather have that or re-sign Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Right, because Josh Allen makes everything like it's not the direct impact on Trevor that a receiver or a tight end
you don't
or a lineman
ignore
is.
defense because you're trying to help Trevor Lawrence, and that wasn't what I was trying to say.
I know
you know that.
I know you're not. I'm just saying when we rank our priorities.
Fine. Right, like I get that fans will hear that and say, well, what about the defense? That's not what we're trying to say. But if Trevor Lawrence is going to be the identity of the team, and I think he can be, should be, right, and has been treated like that, then surround him, right? Like it needs to be better around him than it has been, especially this year. The offensive line really let him down. And I'm not saying that he didn't ever let everyone down. He did. And he carries that weight. I know he carries that weight. We see him every week carrying that weight when he steps up to the podium. He has to be better. He knows it. That doesn't mean they're giving up on the opportunity that Trevor Lawrence represents for the team and the franchise. They have to embrace that that's what they are. Right? Like, and if that's not who you're going to be, then show me. What else is this franchise supposed to be if it's not Trevor Lawrence? I don't even know what the other answer could be at this point.
Well,
with where
clearly
they're
that's
at.
what it's supposed to be. You got a guy who's not yet 25 years old who is the number 1 overall pick just a few drafts ago.
Right.
And it came in with all the accolades that he came in. Of course it's Trevor Lawrence. But that doesn't, like, I think Trevor Lawrence, if I had to play today, I'd rather play with the offensive line I had along with Josh Allen than have a great guard added to the team and lose Josh Allen.
Oh, for sure.
And that's all I'm saying in terms of where that is just so clear-cut. You can't let that guy walk out the door. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing you can accomplish in one off season. Obviously. Look, phone lines are loaded. We set the table for you. So get in. Let us know what you think about off-season priorities, the ones we're discussing. Maybe we're off base in your opinion, or maybe you're agreeing with what you're hearing, or whatever the case may be. Bring it to the table. Let us know, and we'll get to the lines as soon as we come out of this first break right here. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. You're listening to Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Underdog Fantasy. Your fantasy football season is done. that doesn't mean you can't still enjoy winning money playing fantasy sports with Underdog Fantasy with their very easy-to-play Pick'em game. All you do is pick higher or lower on player stat projections throughout the NFL playoffs and spice up the games. And if you know what you're doing, maybe you can win up to 100 times your money if all your picks hit. Very easy to play and even easier to get started with Underdog. All you do is download their app or simply visit UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up using promo code 1010XL. And if you do that, Underdog will give you a little cash to play with. They'll double your first deposit up to $100 and even make your first pick so easy. They'll give you a higher, lower total of 1/2 yard to use on your very first pick'em entry. It's as gimme as it gets. Look, you know I love daily fantasy sports. It's why I play Underdog Fantasy and will throughout the NFL playoffs. Right now, sign up yourself using promo code 1010XL. You do have to be 18 or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. If you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on 1010XL. Awaken 180 Weight Loss, your long-term solution for weight loss.
I'm putting together a team. People with special abilities.
Frank Franchi, Hayes Carline, and Lauren Brooks. The Franchi Show.
How many of you are there? Not enough.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
Are you tired of having a plain and boring backyard? Really want to impress your family and friends this year? Then stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway. Imagine hosting guests at your new outdoor kitchen, relaxing by your custom-built fireplace under a brand new pergola. Stone Core can also remodel your old pool deck and beautiful new pavers. Make your backyard wishes a reality. Visit Stone Core on Phillips Highway and let's get started at stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
At Darley's Plumbing, we fix it all. Drips, leaks, running toilets, sewer lines, you name it. If it's plumbing you need, just remember the Darley's name. Plus, we have 24-hour emergency service, so we'll be there when you need us. Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts.
The Jacksonville Icemen are back at home this Friday and Saturday for Lizard Kings weekend. That's right, the Icemen will throw it back to the 90s to pay tribute to the Lizard Kings by wearing special themed jerseys. Come out and relive your days from the Reptilian Pavilion, Friday and Saturday at 7 at 5-Star Veterans Memorial Arena. Get tickets at Ticketmaster, JacksIcemen.com, or call 904-602-PUCK. Icemen hockey is #FireWithin.
Picking here, the Borland Groover Foundation proudly presents the annual March to Get Screened 5K race and 1 mile fun run. Sunday, April 14th, the race starts at 7 a.m. under the Fuller Warren Bridge. Their mission, raise awareness about colorectal cancer and related deaths. All proceeds benefit the Borland Groover Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
Who were the last astronauts who walked on the moon over 50 years ago? The answer next.
Southern Oak Insurance knows that you want to save money on your homeowner's insurance. So why not try some old-fashioned common sense? Ask your Southern Oak agent about our roof replacement schedule. It will save you money.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmidt were the final 2 astronauts who have walked on the moon.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Stay close to the Seminoles with the Florida State Seminole Report.
All the news that's fit to print and talk about regarding the Garnet and Gold in Tallahassee.
Brought to you by your local Ag Pro, your home team on 1010XL.
Did you know 1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced? O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery needs to be replaced, our professional parts people can help you find the right Super Start battery for your vehicle and budget. Don't wait. Get your battery tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Picking here as we bid farewell to the old and welcome the new. Let's make it a year of clear vision and bright smiles. You see, Bowden Eye & Associates understands the importance of healthy eyes and clear sight. They're here to help you see the world in all its vibrant glory. Picture this, a year filled with laughter, adventure, and crystal clear vision. Routine eye exams or advanced vision correction procedures, they got you covered. Call or visit them online today to schedule your personal consultation. Bowden Eye & Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Now that's what I call high quality H2O.
If you want high-quality H2O in your home, call your local water boy, Keith, at Kenai Water Jacksonville. That's Kenai Water Jacksonville.
Now the Performance Painting High Performance Play of the Game. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
With the season on the line, Jacksonville needed a primetime performer to show up and show out. And secret agent number 0 made sure to perform when the lights were on. In the second quarter, Trevor Lawrence would find Calvin Ridley for a 59-yard touchdown, making the score 10-7 with 12:24 left in the period. The Calvin Ridley score is your Performance Painting Play of the Game.
Hey everyone, Jason Parker, CEO of Performance Painting here. Does your commercial building or your home have a New Year's resolution to get a new look in 2024? Of course, I'm talking about a new paint job that'll make the Joneses want to keep up. And no matter who you hire to paint, make sure they explain the best paint quality options for your surface and the goals you have for your property. Learn more at performancepaintingjax.com or call today at 849-2499.
Performance Painting.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jags wide receiver Calvin Ridley finished the season with 76 catches, tallying 1,016 yards. Ridley led the Jags receiving corps and was able to draw in several pass interference penalties along the way. Head coach Doug Peterson gave his end-of-the-year evaluation on the star receiver.
Calvin was a bright spot for us offensively, and we were excited to have him here. He was definitely someone here down the stretch that we relied a lot on. You know, obviously with Zay and Christian and the situation there at receiver, and, you know, obviously a player that we've all liked on offense, and he's got a lot of talent. You know, he made us better, you know, as a team. You know, you hope that things potentially work out. You never know how things go. It's a crazy business.
For more Doug Peterson, visit Jaguars.com. I'm Molly McDonald with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars Update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Well, I feel fine moving forward. I just think how we finished the last 6 games of the year, how we did it, you know, and we had opportunities to win these games. It wasn't like we were out of a lot of games, you know, down the stretch here. It's we lost the game more than them winning the game, you know, and that's really kind of been our season.
Well, if that's the case, you know, that again points to kind of intangibles. How do you get the best performance out of your team every single week? What was missing from this team throughout the course of the season that they didn't get those things where they got them? Certainly, look, they started 2-6 last year, so they weren't getting them early on, Tone, but you hope you turn that corner, and it's not like, hey, we play well for 2 weeks and we have a down week and whatever. It was more like, okay, we got to a certain point and we turned it on and we became this new team. That's what we hope would carry over into 2023, and it clearly didn't. It went the opposite this year. Mm-hmm. Right, started 1-2, okay, but right at the ship, now we're 8-3. Everything's hunky-dory. We've won 7 out of 8, and then you go spiraling into what you had. And look, there are a lot of reasons for it, and we'll continue to discuss them. Injuries are a part of it. I'm not saying that excuses anything, you know, but just be clear on that. They happen, right? We mentioned something. It doesn't mean that's an excuse for this, right? Trevor Lawrence played with a bunch of injuries, but he needs to play better regardless. Like he himself said, you know, really most of the stuff he dealt with other than the shoulder, he's already past it. Not impacting him at all. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he's got this cumulative effect of 4 different things he's dealing with at any one time. He's got to be better. They all got to be better. All right, let's get to it. At 641-1010 on the All-Pro Roofing phone lines. We'll start with Carson in Fruit Cove. Thanks for being patient, Carson. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate having me on. I'm thinking the first thing I would do in this offseason in terms of rebuilding our offensive line, I would move Anton Harrison from right tackle to left tackle. I think that we need to find a long-term solution to Trevor's blind side. I don't really know what that means for Cam Robinson or Walker Little, but I just think Anton Harrison provides us the most blind side to protect Trevor's backside. If Walker Little is getting bulldozed at right tackle, at least Trevor can see that, and he's not getting ran over and falling on Trevor. But anyways, I'll take y'all's comments off the air. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it, man. Jeff Logman said he thinks that's probably the best position for him long-term.
Yeah.
I've never gotten any sense they've ever considered playing Cam anywhere but on the left side.
Yeah.
And I would suspect if Cam's back this year that he is your starting left tackle.
Yeah. It's a team that it's not that they have no cap space. They certainly don't have the cap space the other three teams in the division have to play with this offseason. But it's not that they're strapped, right? But we all thought they would be creating $15 million indeed when they moved on from Cam Robinson.
Right.
After this season. Is that still a decision that they want to make at this point with the pieces put together the way they are? We talked about it going into this year, Cam Robinson dealing with the suspension. Walker Little, I said one of my priorities for the first month of the season was to come out of that month feeling like Walker Little's the long-term left tackle for this football team. No, you certainly don't feel that way right now. Are they bringing back Cam Robinson? What does that mean, right? If they want to move Anton back to left tackle because they just feel like he's the best option they have at left tackle, which I don't think is a ridiculous idea for this football team. But it does fling open right tackle again, right, for this football team. So they'd be going into another draft, another offseason where it's, okay, now we have to address this obviously gaping hole along the offensive line at one of the tackle positions, which is different than guard. It just is. It's different than guard if it's one of your tackle positions you're talking about with that kind of question. So I was putting together my list, right, for our answer to the question today. I had that at number 4. Make a decision about who the left tackle is in 2024. Like, that's number 4 on my list, so I agree.
What were your first 3?
Find a new DC, because that has to be at the top of the list. They don't have one right now. So I put that at the top of the list. Get a deal done with Josh Allen, replace Luke Fortner, and then figure out who is the left tackle in 2024.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying with finding a new DC because they're going to have to find one. But, like, that's going to happen to me. You know, and I get it.
I get it.
Like, it's not like it's a choice of, hey, if we –
they're going to have
Josh Allen re-signed. We're not going to have a defense coordinator. It's going to happen. Hopefully, they'll get the right one. I don't know who that is. Is it Ron Rivera? People have speculated on. Looks like Mike Vrabel will have his options to be a head coach immediately again.
If we take that off the list, which is fine. Like I said, I had
it's your list. You don't have to take it off.
It's fine, but I had more than the 3 or 4. Right, the extensions. Who's getting an extension, if anybody? Trevor Lawrence, Tyson Campbell. Andre Sisco, is anybody getting an extension for this Jaguars team?
Or if you want to expand that to Calvin Ridley, I mean,
what happens with Calvin?
Right, bringing back pending free agents as well. Let's go to Larry in Orange Park. Next up here on Jaguars Today. Good morning, Larry.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the draft. In the last 2 seasons, can you name me a player that stands out in the draft? I mean, unless we draft well, we're not going to go anywhere. I mean, take, for instance, the Detroit Lions. They had a great draft. Every one of their draft picks has turned out. Can you name me one draft pick?
Can I name you one? Sure, I can name you one. I can name you a few. But, I mean, I think Anton Harrison worked out.
When you say that, I mean, they're first and second rounders. But really, can't. I mean,
okay. But you asked me, Larry. You asked me a question. Can I name a draft pick that stands out? Do you want to limit it to beyond the first round, or I mean, I'm just answering your question.
No. What I'm saying is, okay. So you're saying that
I think Anton Harrison was a good draft pick. I think no, Larry. What are you hearing? Why can't you just?
I'm hearing you.
You're not. You're clearly not, Larry. I mean, seriously. You want me to agree with your point 100%. And if you say they haven't made a good draft pick, your point's wrong. If you say overall their drafting has been disappointing, that's a different story. But if your question is name one draft pick that's been good, Anton Harrison was a good pick. Yeah. Trayvon Walker wasn't, to me, the best pick. But you can't say he's a bad player. He had just had a 10-sack season. I mean, I think they've added a few good players in the draft. Overall, I would give them poor grades for the draft. So don't try to put words in my mouth when I name you one guy because that's what you asked for, and then you say, so you're saying they drafted well? No, I'm not. So don't try to tell me what I'm saying.
Yeah, Larry, just asking you to be more precise with what you're critiquing.
You can admit that Trent Baalke has made a few good draft picks and a few good free agent signings and still not deserve to keep his job.
Yeah, they haven't been good enough in the draft for him to be safe in his job, and that's good enough to make your point without saying they're not drafting anybody that's helping the team. And obviously, look, Trent Baalke's it feels like right now, gonna be in charge of making the draft again this year.
Yeah,
right. Like he's going to be the guy making the picks.
And I hope he makes good picks.
And they are in a position because they are more limited than the other 3 teams in the division when it comes to salary cap space. We'll see what decisions they make with Cam Robinson and others going throughout this offseason. But they're going to be in a position, again, that whatever catching up they're going to do, right, to the Houstons and the Indianapolis Colts, who have a ton of space to spend on all these different options going into this offseason, they're going to be busy when it comes to free agency. Those 2 teams are going to be busy when it comes to all those things. Odds are whatever space you're really going to make up is going to be Trevor Lawrence has that big step that we all thought that he could take in year 3. But it'll be happening in year 4.
But they
hit on a draft class, right? Like that's where their improvement's going to really come from.
And if you, what does hitting on this year's draft class even look like?
We don't know what the draft class is.
Right. We don't even. Will you have a second-round pick? Will you not have a second-round pick because of the Calvin Ridley type situation? Like, let's move on. Mike in Atlantic Beach is up next here on Jaguars Today. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
My three picks would be my wish list. Let's get a place kicker that's money. I think we need one. I think secondly we need to replace maybe 2 of our linebackers with some veteran linebackers, and then lastly I would bring Derrick Henry home. I'll take your thoughts.
Well, when you say replace 2 of our linebackers with veteran linebackers, which 2 are you replacing?
Well, I appreciate that one. I just think our linebacker core could be a little more aggressive, especially with Josh Allen having the year he had and Trevon Walker coming around the way he had.
That's 2 of your starting 4 linebackers, so you're not replacing them, I take it, right?
Oh, no. I look at them, well, okay, maybe, let me rephrase it.
Your inside linebackers?
Yes.
Okay, are you replacing Foye Oluokun?
No.
Okay.
He's something.
Are you replacing Devin Lloyd?
Yes.
You are. You're replacing him so you're going to bench a first-round pick from 2 years ago. See, those are the guys. They cannot afford to. Mike, I appreciate it, and it's your priority list. That's why I just wanted to drill down when you say replace a couple of our linebackers. Who are we talking about here? I mean, you have to get improvement from your young linebackers. I don't think they can afford to go out there. You can't afford to bench a guy that you spent multiple draft picks to trade up into the first round on, who's still as young as Devin Lloyd is and has
still drafting one in the 3rd and 4th round. Like they drafted another inside linebacker
the
last
3rd
2
round
that year, and they drafted Ventrell in the 4th round this year. They're so heavily invested at inside linebacker. They're overburdened at that position right now.
I mean, look, Foye Oluokun, I don't know how much cap savings there is if you moved on from him. Right. But he's making he's going to get to that point now. I think they envisioned, okay, we're going to sign Foye for a big number, and he's going to lead this young linebacking core, and in a few years, they'll be the guys to replace him, basically, right? He's going to bring him up. They'll play alongside him until eventually they'll take his place in the lineup. I just think that is so far down the priority list because they have so many needs. I'm not saying that Devin Lloyd doesn't need to be better. I'm just saying, man, can you really afford to take one of the young pieces out of your team that has some potential and go out there and find a veteran to replace him and put that on the bench? I mean, you want to talk about squandering even more draft capital. You got to find a way to get more out of Devin Lloyd. That you've got to find a coaching staff on the defensive side that can get what they saw out of him as a first-round pick. And by the way, they weren't the only one who graded Devin Lloyd as a first-round pick that year. A lot of people had Devin Lloyd graded as a first-round pick. Hasn't played to that level, but I think that's you're almost pot committed to him.
Yeah, and I don't think you're doing anything with your roster to address that position beyond what you've already done, right? Like if you decide that Devin Lloyd, it's not going to work, I think that just means Chad Muma plays a lot or Ventrell Miller plays a lot. I don't think that they need to be investing any more in the draft at inside linebacker. They don't need to be spending money in free agency when they're already going to be more strapped.
So far down the list,
right?
Of
Like
needs.
it's just they don't have the resources to address a position that they've already addressed as heavily as they have at inside linebacker like that.
Mike, appreciate it. Look, again,
It doesn't mean they're not. That doesn't mean
They
that
couldn't
Devin
be
Lloyd's
better.
been good enough.
Right.
He's got to be better too. I'm not saying that excuses the level of play you've gotten from Devin Lloyd, but whatever answers they're going to have for pivoting from that guy or whatever's in the building.
I think that's far down the list of concerns for this team. But, hey, appreciate it. Let's get Ann in St. Nicholas before we hit the break. Ann, you're on Jaguars Today. Go ahead, please.
Hi, sure, thanks. This is more of a full disclosure, more of a pop-off than anything else. But if I hear any more from that team about losing their spark, let me tell you, marriages lose their spark. White-collar workers returning from the Christmas holidays lose their spark. These guys are living their dream. If they want that spark that they lost, look at their bank accounts and get back to work. That's all I have to say. I don't want to hear any more about the spark. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ann. Appreciate you. Look, I think that's right. Like something that always is going to be a disconnect. How can you not get fired up? All you have to do is show up for really your performance 17 times a year.
Yeah, you're
right?
very well paid.
You can have a bad day of practice, whatever. You're going to get judged on 17 days of work for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're not fired up to play. That's always going to be a refrain from a lot of people. Don't want to hear that excuse. And that's why I said that is one of my priorities. They need to find a way to where that's not an issue. That intangible quality that we thought they had that aspect of it nailed coming into this year. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Like coming off that 2022 season, it seemed like that is where they checked every box, and then it all just seemed to go away. I don't know what, and I don't think it's as simple as one answer for why that is, but I understand Ann's point of view. Don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about lack of intensity, lack of effort. We're human. Hey, if we only had to show up 17 days a year and give a great performance, we might actually be good in maybe 9 or 10 of those. All right, 641-1010 if you want to get in, and a bunch of you apparently do. We'll continue to take your reactions and thoughts as we're looking for your top 3 offseason priorities for the Jaguars. John Ogier will join us from Jaguars.com coming up on the other side. This is Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on Jaguars Today from the JOI Studios. Awaken 180 Weight Loss, your long-term solution for weight loss.
Children learn a lot about life from sports. Teamwork, discipline, and fair play. Values that can only be passed on by a kind, caring, mature
1010XL.
Good people drink good beer. And great people drink Mocama, a refined craft brewery out of Fernandina Beach, Florida. Mocama Beer Company brings sophisticated flagship beers, including Cosmico IPA and Dune Garden Lager, to the greater Jacksonville area. Whether you're hitting the water with friends or enjoying a backyard barbecue, Mocama has the perfect fare for your summer activities. Look for us wherever great beers are sold and find your Mocama.
Here's Ben and John Lupo, owners of Beard's Diamonds.
It's funny, my dad has sold people engagement rings, and now I'm selling their kids engagement rings and anniversary gifts and birthday gifts.
We're blessed with the relationships we've built over the years.
Check out our full inventory at beardsdiamonds.com.
Beard's Diamonds in the St. John's Town Center.
Your AC's broke, it ain't no joke. Call Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. FloridaHomeAC.com.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. Look, it's kind of cooling down right now. I love opening my windows up this time of year. If you're looking to upgrade your windows in your home, I want you to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Ask about their latest hurricane and impact-resistant windows and doors, rated #1 by Consumer Reports in all 3 main window categories. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. That's Pella Windows and Doors, online at PellaJacks.com.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Trivia enthusiasts, Tuesday night is your night. Gather your team and join us at Players Grill in Mandarin or Miramar for the ultimate trivia showdown. It's a whole lot of fun every Tuesday starting at 7 p.m. Are you ready to prove you're the trivia champions? Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
Attention veterans, if you have a VA loan, you need to listen to this, especially if your current rate is higher than 6.5%. Now is the time to take advantage of the federal government's VA Streamlined Refinance Program. With my friends at Loan Pronto, you can. Go to loanpronto.com. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto has fixed rate APRs in the 5s. You can drop your rate now. Lower your payment with no income documentation and no appraisal. Do it at loanpronto.com. Their all-digital platform makes it easy. They can even cover your closing costs. If you need cash now, Loan Pronto can get you up to 100% of your home value. You can pay off all your credit cards or other debt and save as much as $1,000 a month. Call Loan Pronto now at 904-999-1508 or get a 30-second rate quote at loanpronto.com. Ask about streamlined VA loans, no income doc, and no appraisal. Loan Pronto, 999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Make a difference in our community for 2024. Brian King here, Chairman of the Board of Governors of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida. Each Boys and Girls Club offers a safe environment to kids in need each and every day with homework assistance, career readiness, and a hot meal. Consider brightening the life of a child by sponsoring a pizza party at one of our area clubs. As you do your giving, help us brighten the life of a child. Go to bgcnf.org to learn more.
It's a rock and roll salute to the greatest piano icons in history, the greatest piano men. This electrifying production celebrates the world's greatest pianists and showmen, including Elton John, Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, all the way to Beethoven and Liberace. Friday, January 12th at Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park. Get tickets now.
Hey folks, Hicken here. Now that your kids and grandkids have gone home and the decorations are coming down, I bet you can see it's time to get those carpets and sofas clean. I'm telling you, give Zero Res a try if you haven't already. They clean the carpets, the sofa, the chairs, the area rugs, and even the tile and grout. Google them. More than 5,000 five-star customer reviews. And right now, 20% off carpet cleanings, 20% off upholstery. Zero Res. You spell it forward, you spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
Here's your 1010XL local sports update, sponsored by First Coast Honda Dealers. Florida State continues to find success in the transfer portal as FSU signs West Virginia defensive line transfer Tamiwa Dorojaye. He played for the Mountaineers this past season, notching 23 tackles and 3.5 sacks in 13 games. The Seminoles are losing plenty of talent after a 13-1 campaign, but the roster is still filled. Red-shirted senior wide receiver Darian Williamson revealed that he was returning to Tallahassee for his final season of collegiate eligibility. Around the NBA in Florida, the Orlando Magic lost to the Western-leading Minnesota Timberwolves. The Miami Heat, they hold on to their man as they plan to keep Eric Spoelstra for a very long time. The Heat head coach has agreed to an 8-year, $120 million extension to remain with the Miami Heat, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. That's your 1010XL local sports update. I'm Sam Nelson on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
At 11:03, it's 50 degrees. Time and 10 brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Nobody knows the Jags like Johnny O.
Oh, knows. Brought to you by
Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
on 1010XL.
All right, hour 2 is here. Jaguars Today moving on in a very non-contentious offseason, to be sure. John Ogier, Jaguars.com. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Final run for us for a while. So,
Is it?
For you and me, I think, right?
I don't know. Are you planning on not coming in? Or
I'd be glad to.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, last couple of years I haven't done the off season.
We'll see you next week.
I look forward to it.
We'll talk on the break.
All right. Good.
Okay, because
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
News to me. Good. Yeah.
I told we're saddled with you for a while, actually. So
well, good for me, not so good for you and Tony. So.
Probably true, but that's all. All kidding aside, John, what did you make of the decision to wipe out the defensive staff? Couple of select offensive assistants. Press Taylor keeps his job. Basically, Doug Peterson, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically said he's done a great job or a good job, right? And Trent Baalke, it appears that's not a Doug Peterson decision. Doesn't appear like there's going to be any movement on that front. I haven't heard any smoke on that.
Yeah, I until I hear differently, I'll assume all that. As far as press specifically, look, he and Doug are in lockstep. I mean, Doug, they called plays first half, second half last year. I never got the impression this year that Doug thought that press was calling the games any differently than he would have called them. So I know people don't like that, but when you're trying to figure out would he part ways with them, I never considered that he would, because I think I don't want to say that press was, Doug's voice, but for the most part, I think they're in lockstep. I think it would be like firing yourself almost, because I think he's doing things the way that Doug would do it. So
what would you say was the better side of the ball this year, offense or defense?
For the first 3 months, I would say defense.
Okay.
At the end, probably would have given the nod to offense overall, but I kind of get your point. I mean,
even if you do, right?
Yeah.
3/4 of the season, you'd say defense better than offense.
Yeah, and then it really went away in big situations and really couldn't stop the run.
Oh, I agree. Look, this week I thought the run defense never gave him a chance to win the football game.
Right, exactly.
Right from the jump.
Yeah.
But I do, if you're asking me which side performed better, and part of it is, I think, expectation, because we expected the offense to be at a certain level, and it didn't reach that, and we expected the defense to be bad, and when it outperformed that, maybe we gave him more credit. Then it still wasn't good, but it was opportunistic.
Yeah, I think the offense really, it was sort of the same offense as last year with injuries mixed in until the end of the season, and I don't know the exact week, but I remember tracking it through about November, early December. The numbers, I think they were about 10 yards a game off from last year and about the same points. And then I think at the end, injuries with Trevor, Christian Kirk, I think it sunk a little bit after that. So the offense didn't get much better, but it was about the same. It was inconsistent.
Offense
times.
was about down a point. Defense allowed about a point more a game.
Yeah, so
roughly.
I guess the rationale, because Doug hasn't talked since then, so I have to sort of assume and speculate. I think overall, just the fact that they weren't able to stop the run or weren't able to fix some gap integrity issues all season. I think part of it is just when you lose 5 of 6, I think there's a feeling in the league now you've got to change something, and that's what Doug felt like he could change.
All right, well, he gives his wrap-up press conference on Monday, so he's going to take a little time to think about things. 3 hours later, the entire defensive staff is basically – so right. I'm asking you, do you think that this was something that he thought was coming? Mia O'Brien said that she thought that the exit interviews with players weighed heavily in this.
Probably. My guess is Doug, either had already or knew he was going to do the defense thing because he talked at 3 o'clock. That's something that coaches generally want to it's going to sound silly. They want to keep that as low-key as possible when that happens. You can't low-key a mass firing, but doing it after you speak to the media maybe makes it a little bit where you don't talk about the specifics of it or something where it's a little lower key, where it offers the coaches some dignity. I think that was probably the motivation there. It's sort of impossible to do in this day and age.
Are you surprised? Like, there's nobody and I get it. Sometimes you want the new defense coordinator to come in and hire his staff, whatever the case. Do you think there's somebody they have in mind in particular, or it's just a philosophy that whoever comes in, we want to be able to start fresh?
I think probably the latter. Again, it's hard because you didn't really talk to Doug at all to get any sort of a hint. I think for the most part, it was, if we're going to hire somebody and if we're going to change things, then that person's going to want to bring their in guys. Usually what happens is you make a change like this, and usually most of the staff goes anyway. It's just not that they're told they have to. It's more you fire a defense coordinator and you tell the other assistants, hey, feel free to look for jobs. They usually do. They don't get hired, and it happens more organically, I guess is the word. Whereas here it's more, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. All right. Let's get a couple calls in before this next break here. Folks have been waiting patiently to weigh in. We're talking today about your 3 top offseason priorities for the Jags. You don't have to have 3 if you've got one. If you want to discuss one aspect, it's all fair game. John in Orange Park is up next. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Hey, just to get out of the way real quick, first, thinking about Press Taylor, which I had thoughts of originally, but I would say, hey, we had not a problem when they were 8-3 with his play calling as much as he got brought up after we had our bad 5-6. So I don't necessarily think it's Press Taylor. What my biggest thing is, I think, is we need more quality depth on this team. We do have a lot of good players, but what happens is, like wide receiver, tight end core, you lose 2 of those 4, you're left with 2 good ones, but other teams can key off and double team on those key ones. Bottom line, I just think if we want to get to that playoff championship level, we need to have quality depth. And I'm going to take it off there and see what you think.
All right, appreciate it. Look, I don't doubt that championship team needs quality depth. Me personally this year, I don't feel like that was I get it. You're without Zay Jones for a while, right? But I feel like Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and Evan Ingram, or 3 of those 4 being on the field at the same time is enough to. I mean, Kansas City basically has Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice in terms of guys that they can count on. Rice as a rookie this year. And granted, it's Patrick Mahomes. I know it's a different level. I'm just saying, I think what they had was enough, barring a wave of injuries. And I get it. When you're missing Zay and Kirk at the same time, it's going to show up to some degree. But you still had a 100-catch tight end. Yeah. And you still had a 1,000-yard receiver in Calvin Ridley. And I don't. Their depth needs to be better.
Sure.
I just think the
front
line needs to be better.
Point this year, you know what I mean? That didn't feel like that didn't feel defining to me. If you've,
I agree, and I don't disagree with John's point that if you want to be a championship team, you're going to have to withstand some injuries at key positions. Okay, nobody can expect to do it like Cleveland has, where they lost their quarterback, tried another one, didn't work, tried another one, didn't work, and then hit on a guy who was sitting on his couch and he's playing like he was 25 years old.
You can't plan for that.
You
right?
can't, right. I mean,
so
that's just good fortune that kind of falls into your lap.
And I think you see the illustration of San Francisco this year. When they lost 3 frontline guys.
They lost 3 in a row.
Right. It doesn't take much with even the great teams in the league to see where the cracks are in the entire roster. So, look, I don't think it's a bad point. They need to get better as far as the depth on the roster, but I don't think there's any team in the league that you look at them and say, look how deep they are. It's just not the way you can even try to build teams in today's NFL. Occasionally we're watching Puka Nacua go deep, right? For the Rams, they happen to nail that guy late in the draft. They get to expose that for the next 3 years. He's cheap, right? And really productive. That's not how most teams are built. They're not that lucky. to have those kind of opportunities. When you get them, take advantage of them.
Well, and that's the thing. Are they luck? There's some luck element to it, but they also hit. I mean, they hit on Kyron Williams 2 years ago in the 5th round. They hit on Puka this year. Now, if they really knew how good they're going to be, would they wait until the 5th round to take them?
If anyone knew.
There is a little bit of luck element, but all these other teams are finding these guys. Every team is, but there are enough guys that get found like when you draft Snoop Connor, when Kyron Williams is sitting out there and he does what he did this year and he showed that kind of potential,
it's going to be a conversation.
You blew the pick.
Right.
You blew the pick when you had a guy at the same position who is much better than what you ultimately felt like was the best option for your football team. It's one thing like if you take a running back and some middle linebacker hits because you were focusing, later in the draft on another position. That's a little bit more excusable. But when a guy that at a position you were looking at know you needed or felt you needed.
There's a bunch of cards up there, and you didn't pick that one.
You didn't pick it. And to the point where the very next year you had to go back into the 3rd round and take a guy who then you basically didn't play most of the year.
Right.
So, look, again, plenty of issues with the drafting, the depth included. Jonah in Murray Hill is next up. Good morning, Jonah.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. What's up?
So I would say my 3 points of emphasis for the off season. One would be just to try and beef up, if not the interior line itself, depth on the interior line. I think you saw pretty quick that outside of an inside zone in that sweep play that they like to run to where the guard and the center pull, the line really wasn't getting too much push that latter half of the season, and then that was putting more pressure on Trevor. What he throw? 14 picks this year. A handful of them were just miscommunications by receiver, tight end, and then there were a couple that were just dropped, right? So you can't blame him. It is hard to put all that on your quarterback. And I think, too, obviously hitting on some of those later round picks, like you guys had mentioned with the Snoop Connor and the Tank Bigsby, decisions for the draft. Obviously, it'd be nice to go out and draft a Kyron Williams. But, scouts didn't see it that way, so it is what it is. I think getting a solidified corner would help as well. Draft capital is going to be tight, so I don't think you could go out and spend money on a big free agent guy, but maybe find some value in the draft. Injuries pile up, fatigue piles up. It's catastrophic to go from 8-3 to 9-8. It's going to be a long off season, but hopeful that they can correct these issues and have a strong start to next year.
All right, thank you, Jonah. Appreciate it. Look, offensive line is the main point I took away from that. It's obviously the interior of the offensive line needs to have a drastic improvement.
Yeah, if you don't do it with new personnel, the personnel that's there has got to play a lot better.
And after a certain point, expecting the same people to improve greatly is kind of foolhardy.
Now, I thought the overall inability to trust the run more than anything else defined the season.
And they shouldn't have trusted it.
No,
because they couldn't run.
No, I get it.
Right?
I've been asked a million times. I'm sure you guys have too. What about those awful play calls on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1? I don't know that I would have called run plays there.
I said on Monday, John, that if they did and they don't make it in,
sure,
everyone's calling up going, well, you can't run.
Right.
How stupid do you have to be to run it twice? But when you fail by the other whatever, you have to score from 3rd and goal at the 1. You have to score if you're taking 2 shots.
When I was watching those plays from the press box, my only thought was
they have no confidence.
They have no confidence, and I was thinking I don't want them to run here because I don't think they'll make it. And it's not that I didn't want them to make it.
I don't know. As Tony pointed out, the Bigsby had just converted like a 3rd and 2.
Yeah. But true. I mean,
and
all
look,
that,
maybe you run it on 3rd down, you get half the distance, and then Trevor's dive is successful.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, we don't know, or maybe the ball gets knocked out of his hands.
But that's the point is you were at a point there, 3rd and 1, right call, wrong call. You had a running game all season that you didn't trust, and you didn't trust it there for rightly or wrongly, and it's what cost you. You've got to get a running game you can trust.
Right, and I think to me that I don't think Travis Etienne became a bum overnight.
No, I didn't mean about
No,
Travis.
I know.
I mean,
I'm not
right,
saying
yeah.
you said that. I'm saying to me that it all comes down to the 5 guys up front,
Yeah.
or the majority of it comes
Yeah.
down to the 5
Whatever
guys
it is,
up
you got to
front.
be able to trust it.
All right, Del, we'll take a timeout. If you're on the line, if you stay there, we'll get to you coming up in this next segment at 641-1010 on the All-Pro Roofing phone lines. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, John Ogier, and Dylan Denmark here with you. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on 1010XL. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
You got center stage.
Dan Hicken.
You're taller than you look in the tabloids.
Jeff Prosser.
I mean, I think the show's going to be a huge hit.
They are The Drill.
In all my years of radio, I've never seen anything like this.
Mornings on 1010XL.
You must give me your designer's number.
Start your new year off healthy and get screened at Ackerman Urology for common cancers of the prostate, bladder, and kidney. Early detection is key with 5 locations across Northeast Florida. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Lauren Brooks here from Mayport CNC Fisheries. Want the freshest seafood in town? From mahi to tuna to scallops to oysters. Mayport CNC Fisheries is in Atlantic Beach. Do what I did. Go enjoy Mayport CNC Fisheries.
The Jacksonville Icemen are back at home this Friday and Saturday for Lizard Kings weekend. That's right, the Icemen will throw it back to the 90s to pay tribute to the Lizard Kings by wearing special themed jerseys. Come out and relive your days from the Reptilian Pavilion, Friday and Saturday at 7 at 5-Star Veterans Memorial Arena. Get tickets at Ticketmaster, JacksIcemen.com, or call 904-602-PUCK. Icemen hockey is #FireWithin.
Now that the holidays are behind us, you really need to get your septic tank pumped out. Give Duck Duck Rooter a call to schedule your pump out service. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com.
She's very comfortable talking sports and hanging out with the boys.
Mia O'Brien here, still providing the best multimedia sports coverage in Northeast Florida on 1010XL radio, video, and social channels.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. It's getting chilly outside, but you can enjoy the outside inside with a new glass lanai from Lifetime Enclosures, or look ahead and get that backyard ready for spring with a new screened-in enclosure. Maximize the space you have and make it great with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. They truly are the best in the business. Give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hicken here, the Borland Groover Foundation proudly presents the annual March to Get Screened 5K race and 1 mile fun run. Sunday, April 14th, the race starts at 7 a.m. under the Fuller Warren Bridge. Their mission, raise awareness about colorectal cancer and related deaths. All proceeds benefit the Borland Groover Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
Ever wonder how you can transform your living spaces into captivating works of art? At First Coast Lighting and Fans, they offer a huge selection of high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Visit their showroom on Phillips Highway at the Avenues and step into a world of quality without compromise. Discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes and let them help you experience the transformation from average to extraordinary. At First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and right before the holiday break, I was down 30 pounds with Awaken 180. Did I pack on 5 pounds during the holiday festivities? Nope. I lost another 3 during the toughest time for weight loss. You've heard Mike Dempsey and I rave about the simplicity of Awaken 180, but let me paint a clearer picture. We're talking about a program so straightforward, even a couple of normal guys like us aced it. And if we could do it, there's no doubt you can too. In 2 months, I've dropped 33 pounds, and the weight is practically melting off without any of the sweating. Do you have to run to lose weight with Awaken 180? Absolutely not. Exercise is great and encouraged, but if losing weight is your goal, it's about what you put in your mouth. I'm back at the gym, but you don't have to. No gym, no meds. Just listen to your coach, and boom, it's that simple. Eat to lose weight with the clear solution for weight loss, Awaken 180 weight loss. Do what Mike and I did and call 844-346-1800 or schedule your January consultation at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hey, Scarline here. Tired of missing out on the conversation due to hearing loss? At Jacksonville Hearing and Balance, their team of audiologists led by Dr. Douglas Green can help you rediscover the joy of connection. Visit jhbi.org today.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. His name is John Osher.
Oh, knows.
Brought to you by Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars on 1010XL.
All right, your Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day is simply your top 3 biggest offseason priorities for the Jags as it stands today. As it stands today, Josh Allen's not under contract going forward. That, to me, is priority number 1. May not be for you, but it is for me. Calvin Ridley's not under contract, and that's not in my top 3 priorities. But quite frankly, I'd love to swap him out for T. Higgins, but I think in the end something will happen where T. Higgins stays in Cincinnati.
That's starting to be the word, right? Like,
I mean, I guess, but they got to pay. They got to pay Chase. Chase is going to get one of those $30 million a year deals.
Yeah.
I saw a projection. These wide receiver or these free agent projections are silly talk sometimes because I looked at one for T. Higgins. It was like 4 years, 16.5 per year. Are you kidding me? Yes. Are you kidding? I mean, we got Christian Kirk for more than that a couple of years ago. T. Higgins is considered to be a better player, and he'll have, I would think, a much bigger market than Christian Kirk had. And that Christian Kirk's been phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, T. Higgins is more prototypical.
Might have gone to Clemson, at some point.
Right.
I want to get that connection going
Pair him
here.
up with Travis Etienne.
I would love that, for all those halfback option plays that we're going to run, John. Yes, you're reading my mind right there.
I really am.
You really are. All right, let's before we get any deeper here, we'll get back to your calls in a moment. Let's go around the National Football League.
Now, Gems Around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
The Tennessee Titans have fired head coach Mike Vrabel after 6 seasons with the team. Myles Garrett, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, and Kareem Hunt all missed practice on Tuesday for the Browns. Each was listed with an injury designation and a rest or personal designation for being the reason why they missed practice, except for Kareem Hunt, who was listed with just a groin injury. Miami assigned linebackers Justin Houston and Bruce Irvin. Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle were all limited at practice on Tuesday for the Dolphins, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have officially ruled out linebacker T.J. Watt for this weekend's playoff game.
All right, thank you, Tony. 641-1010. I would love to try to figure out how the Jags are going to win this week without player X being available to them, whomever that would happen to be.
Wouldn't
matter.
Stunning.
Just the difference in that alone, just having a home playoff game, maybe you win it, and then your season is generally a success, even though you didn't take a step forward from last year. You didn't go backwards from last year either.
And until last week, I thought they had a decent chance if they got in to win the first week.
I did too.
The way they played last week, I don't. Yeah.
Right, if they played like that, they weren't going to beat Cleveland or anybody else for that matter at that point. 641-1010. Justin in Briceville is next here on Jaguars Today. Good morning, Justin.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing today?
Doing all right, man. What's up?
So my 3 priorities, I'm going to go backwards. The third one, I would probably say the cornerback play, the defensive backs. I felt like we were kind of struggling in that area. Number 2 would be the offensive line, for sure.
Okay.
And then number 1 would be I strongly believe they need to do something besides Trent Baalke. Y'all were talking about depth and stuff, but ultimately that comes on to the general manager with drafting and free agency and stuff. And I just don't feel like he's done a very good job in the last 4 years. And I'm sure y'all probably have addressed this already, but I just don't want to beat a dead horse. But just want to say y'all are doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate it.
All right, Justin, that's up for debate, but we appreciate it. Look, I get it. First of all, Trent Baalke's been totally in charge for 2 years, right? And he's had to. I'm not. So that way, he doesn't get any credit or any blame to me. If Dave Caldwell was a GM, he's the final voice in the room. Like, I'm not going Ethan Waugh. What kind of a bad job Ethan Waugh did as the assistant to the GM last year here. Nobody here is stumping for Trent Baalke. I'm not speaking for John. I'm talking about me and Tony here. Nobody's stumping for Trent Baalke. But, look, I think you're going to have to accept the reality that if he's here, you're not going to – I hope you still want to find ways for this team to improve, right? That even if it's Trent Baalke signing off on whatever name they turn in, hopefully the guy that they pick at 17 or wherever their first pick ends up being is the right guy, right? It's not like every move he's made has been the wrong one since he's been in charge. I would move on from him. But if they don't, like to me, if they don't re-sign Josh Allen, I don't care if it's Trent Baalke re-signing him or anybody else re-signing him, what are you going to do next year for a pass rush? Where are you going to find something to replicate what Josh Allen was able to give you, not only give you, but allow some of the attention to come off of Trayvon Walker to help him start to flourish a little bit, particularly in the second half of the season. You're not going to find an argument, I don't think, from almost anybody at 1010XL. If we had the final vote, we'd vote for a new general manager. But if it doesn't happen, I still hope that they can check off the things on the checklist. Trent Baalke's present. I get the argument is, well, Trent Baalke's not going to make the right decisions. And maybe he's not, but maybe he is, right? Whoever is there, the new GM, if you fire Trent Baalke, isn't necessarily going to make the right decisions either. Right? GMs fail all the time. So no matter who it is, to me, my focus is on the decisions that are going to get made, and I hope whether it's him making those decisions, which it looks like it will be mostly in conjunction with Doug Peterson, that there are more good ones than bad ones.
Right, because if you don't like a decision, that's, I guess, neither here nor there in terms of following the rest of the offseason. You can either start a conversation with, well, I hate the person who made the decision, or you can talk about the decision, right? That's what you're saying, so.
Right, and he's made some good decisions, and when I only bring them up to try to be fair. Like, I don't think Trent, if you didn't have any of the guys that Trent Baalke's brought in, you wouldn't have the season Evan Ingram just had. You wouldn't have had what Christian Kirk has done for the last year and a half. You wouldn't have had Calvin Ridley. Now, maybe you would have had other guys.
Right.
And maybe they would have been better. Maybe they would have been worse.
Foye last year. You wouldn't have had a team put together last year that got you out of the depths and got in a position to give you hope this year.
But saying that can be factual, and the other part of that can be, but it's still not good enough.
Right.
And that's where I'm at. That, okay, but I'm just trying to have a fair conversation when people are like, the guy calls up and says, you can't name one good draft pick. Name one good draft pick Trent Baalke's made. You make one, and they're like, oh, so you're saying he's a great drafter. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to be fair. He hasn't failed on every single draft pick. I think Antonio Johnson was a good pick this year, right? But you can't point to a guy in the 5th round and say, oh, this part-time player was maybe our second best pick this year for a team that had as many picks as the Jags had, as many bites at the apple. Sorry, Brenton Strange wasn't a good pick this year. He may turn out to be a good player. He had very minimal impact on this team this year for a team that had aspirations to go into the playoffs and go deep. Tank Bigsby was a bad pick this year. He may have a fantastic career. If you didn't draft Tank Bigsby, if you passed on the 3rd-round pick, would there have been any difference in the outcome of this season?
Nope.
Not a bit. Not a bit. And then, most of the other guys, Parker Washington only played out of complete necessity. Mm-hmm. He didn't force his way into the conversation at any point. So nobody is taking a look at this and saying we're giving out straight A's on this report card. Michael on the South Side next up on Jaguars Today. Hello, Michael.
Good morning, man. I don't know, man. I'm kind of feeling real weird about this whole Caldwell firing and stuff like that, because I just feel like if they added something on the defensive line that was clearly a need since last year, and we still ended up in this spot, I can understand. But clearly it wasn't enough upgrade, which was needed, and I feel like what we saw was the results of the decision, basically the fallout of the decision. I just don't like that, because it's like it screams scapegoat, and maybe somebody who would come, but a seasoned veteran DC, who would want to come to that knowing that if a situation comes and you're not given the pieces that clearly is needed, you're going to be the scapegoat. And it's kind of like the situation when you're working at a fast food restaurant. If the GM don't give you enough meat to cover the lunch rush, You fired the shift manager instead of the manager who's supposed to order the right food, the right amount of food. But you fired the shift manager who's in charge of the shift that ran out of meat besides the GM that was supposed to order enough meat. And that's just the equivalence. Maybe it's wrong. I just see it like that. Like the GM clearly dropped the ball. And unfortunately, Mike Caldwell is the sacrifice. Not sacrifice, but just the one.
I hear what you're saying. No,
yeah.
Michael, thank you. Look, I understand that point of view, right? I also understand that when you have a season that disappoints, the coach is going to probably move on from somebody. The head coach is going to move on from somebody. He's not going to move on from himself.
Right.
And as you say, John, he looks at Press Taylor like as an extent. He's doing what, if you had a defensive-minded head coach and it was the other circumstance, you probably would have been firing the offensive coordinator this week, right?
Press runs Doug's scheme. They're in meetings all the time. They're almost of one mind.
Right. So indictment of him is an indictment on himself, and the head coach is not going to throw himself on the chopping block like that. Now, granted, you get to a certain point, if you want to keep your job, some guys are like, hey, I'm not going to fire my guy. This is how Doug was up in Philly, right? And you got to decide then as the owner, do you want to continue on with the head guy? But you can't expect the head guy to throw himself out there and on the chopping block. I will say this about Mike Caldwell. Did the defense get better? The two edge rushers had better seasons this year, but overall, when you looked at this defense, I agree. They didn't add any shiny new pieces to it, right? And Devon Hamilton, who was the guy that they counted on to be maybe their best interior player on the defensive line, had a freak injury and he basically was ineffective the entire year, right? It wasn't him. It was like a completely wasted year. So I get it, and they did add. They at least went out. They lost Juwan Taylor, but they replaced him in the draft. They did add Ezra Cleveland. They added Calvin Ridley. They added more pieces to the offense, and that offense took a step back just like the defense did. So I totally understand that point of view as Mike Caldwell, the scapegoat here. But I also understand why, logically, because Doug Peterson is the offensive-minded coach and Press Taylor is his protege, that's the way it went down. That's the reality sometimes in coaching circles.
Yeah. Bad radio, but really nothing to add. That's
Look,
exactly
and granted, I don't think there's anyone around the league. I think a veteran guy who has an opportunity to be a defensive coordinator is going to go, I'm going to do better with this. They've regressed. They got it run down their throat by Derrick Henry. I'm not going to not take that job. Guys, there are very few times when coaches – now, if you have a bunch of options, that's one thing.
Sure.
I don't know who's going to be beating down some of these coaches' doors.
And you say, well, now, if I'm a coordinator, I do say, we're getting 41 back, right?
Right. Do I have the pieces in place? Right. Yeah. I mean, that's why that's priority number one.
Right. But I think you look at a couple of guys who combined for, 27 sacks on the outside, which was what Trayvon and Josh did. As a coordinator, for looking at it from the outside, you think, okay, I got those pieces. And Devon Hamilton.
I'm going to bring my scheme, which is going to be more aggressive or less aggressive or whatever it's going to be. And
we'll hear that phrase. We'll hear that's, But
we want to be aggressive, John.
Well,
what defensive coordinator has ever not said that?
I love intro press conferences, by the way. Sarcasm font. But and then you got Foye, who's a solid tackler in the middle. You have, so from an outside point of view, you've got pieces. Nobody won't take this job for the reasons that he cited.
I don't believe that. Right? I mean, coaches get fired. Mike Vrabel just got fired. You think some head coaching candidate's going to go, I'm not going to go there. They're going to fire Vrabel. What kind of life expectancy will I have? Because they don't think like that. They think, I'm not going to be like him. I'm going to win. So anyway, that's not my concern at this point in time with that. I do understand the feeling that Mike Caldwell's a scapegoat, but I also feel like
sort of the way the league works.
Mike Caldwell's defense didn't do enough for him for me to go, damn right he deserves to keep his job. Same with Press Taylor, by the way. I'm not saying that, and it just so happened to be because of like you said, that this Doug Peterson is running through Press Taylor what he wants to run, and if he's executing it the way he wants it done, all he can say is, I guess my offense isn't good enough, right? Maybe I'm the one who needs to go, and nobody's ever going to say that.
Well, and from his point of view, that offense has won a lot of Super Bowls, so that's where he comes from.
It may have, but it didn't this year.
No,
Not here.
But I mean,
couldn't run it.
Philosophically, he's not going to say this offense doesn't work.
Right. Oh, the offense may work, but then they're all kind of just because that offense works doesn't mean anyone who runs it deserves a job in perpetuity either. I know that's not what you're saying. We got a final segment coming up if you want to get in at 641-1010, and we'll recap some of our top off-season priorities for the Jags. There are many of them. We'll do that next on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. The Thompson family are on it already in 2024. All kinds of delicious goodies out there. Fantastic breakfast items. I can't list every single one that Dandy offers up in 60 seconds, but think about all the different categories, and they check all the boxes. Buttermilk biscuits, soft flaky croissants, French toast, light tasty maple waffles, sizzling country sausage, black forest ham, thick sliced bacon, peppered fried eggs, creamy Wisconsin cheddar cheese, just some of the many delicious ingredients that go into the breakfast items alone that Dandy offers up. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack time, on the go, protein packs, fruit cups, veggie trays, salads, you name it. They got something for everybody, even folks like me. We're trying to keep the weight off. I love Dandy. It's a local company that just does great things, and they employ a lot of local folks here in Jacksonville as well, and continue to put out great products all across Duval. So swing into a Gate Station when you're hungry and do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy and do it today.
Helping you over the hump. Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Weight Loss Wednesday continues from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios on 1010XL. The Gators are here.
Got it to beat the buzzer.
Florida basketball.
Chop this one up for the Gators.
Hear the Florida Gators all season on 1010XL, Jacksonville's Gators station.
If it's time to update your old, unreliable AC system, then make the bold move to Bold City Heating and Air. Local family ownership means Bold City AC can provide fast, premium service with a more competitive price. And listen to this. Call to get your new AC system installed this month and take advantage of 12 months with no payments and no interest financing. That's a whole year of no payments with no interest on your new AC system. So be comfortable, be bold, and schedule a free estimate today at boldcityac.com.
Frank Franzi here for Stanley Pools. There's a reason so many of my friends and our listeners have had Stanley Pools build their pools and now maintain their pools, because Stanley Pools truly cares about their customers. Stanley Pools is locally owned and has been serving our community for 35 years. For all of your pool needs, call Stanley Pools at 269-7277. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools. 269-7277, or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com.
JEA is dedicated to keeping your utility costs down, so we offer programs and solutions to help you use less and save more. From simple and easy tips that reduce usage to free in-home efficiency assessments that show you ways to be more energy and water efficient, and efficiency rebates that help you save on appliance upgrades. Because as your community-owned, not-for-profit utility, we're here to serve you, and only you. To learn more, visit JEA.com.
Is your house exterior due for a wash? First Coast Home Pros has thousands of 5-star reviews for a reason. They get amazing results on even the toughest pressure washing jobs. Schedule now at firstcoasthomepros.com.
Get your news and notes from the swamp.
Alligators ornery cause they got all them teeth.
I'm Taylor Dahl, and I'll bring you the Gator Report to keep you connected to Gainesville.
Wow! Brought to you by Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts on 1010XL.
Malfunctions in your electrical panel can lead to hazards like fire or power outages, leaving your home at risk. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
8 Sparky. Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to cam locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
What is the rule if a baseball hits the foul pole? The answer next.
How long has it been since you compared homeowners' insurance rates? Log on to southernoak.com to get an instant quote or find an agent near you.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
A baseball hitting the foul pole is ruled a fair ball. And if it's above the wall, well, that's a home run.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
When you roll into a convenience store for some cold Bud Light, you want to make sure it's, well, cold. Check out the big coolers at Circle K. They make sure it's chilled and ready to go for the big game or party. Swing by Circle K and pick up some cold Bud Light.
With Christmas behind us in 2024 here, the last thing you want to hear is somebody trying to sell you something. That's why at Underwoods, we'd like to stop and just say thank you to all the people that came in our stores over the last year. Whether you bought from us or not, we want to thank you for stopping by and giving us the chance to help. You know, in Florida, there are a lot of people trying to sell you jewelry, but at Underwoods, we consider it an honor to have somebody come in and just give us that chance to help, and if we do a good job, we might get a chance to serve again. Having served North Florida since 1928, all of us here understand what a customer really gives us during that visit to Underwoods, their trust. And it's up to us to do everything we can to keep it. So on behalf of everybody on the Underwood team, thanks again for coming into our stores, and we wish each of you a Happy New Year.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and this month I want to talk to you about welcoming the winds of change in your life. But so often, when we see the winds of change coming our way, our immediate response is to fight it. Friends, when you see things in your life changing, when the winds of change are coming your way, don't fight it, but embrace it. Recognize that God is stirring you up so that you too can soar like an eagle.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
This is Dr. James Perry, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
With high expectations set for the Jags 2023 season, QB Trevor Lawrence takes responsibility in failing to meet them. Lawrence finished the year with 14 interceptions and 5 fumbles and says his consistency has to be better.
I can do a better job of just being consistently the player I know I can be. I thought I did that better earlier in the season, and as the season went on, I thought that there were times where I didn't play my best, and that's when it's needed. When the season's on the line and whatever it is, 2-minute drill at the end of the game, making that throw to Calvin, that changes the game. Things like that. I need to be my best in those moments, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that at times this year, and that's what I'm talking to the guys, and I feel responsible for that.
For more Trevor Lawrence, visit Jaguars.com. I'm Molly McDonald with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute.
Fish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
On 1010XL.
All right, top 3 off-season priorities for this team. Already ran through them earlier. Just get bullet point mine. Retain Josh Allen. Okay, whatever that looks like. Franchise tag, hopefully a long-term deal that both sides are happy with. Retain Josh Allen. Improve the offensive line, particularly the interior of the offensive line. And fix the intangible quality that seemed to be missing this year. And I can't define it any greater than that. The football character, the want to, the edge, the nastiness, the dogs in the locker room, the whatever it is, this can't have Doug Peterson going, you play like you practice. Why are you practicing bad? Like where's that everything matters every moment we're out there, and that's what Doug tried to impress upon in his season-ending press conference. You don't know what game is going to be the one that ultimately costs you. So just some of that they had, that I don't know if spirit is the right word, but the intangible factor that they had in 2022, they need to get back in 2024. Tony, your top 3 things.
My top 3 things, Josh Allen would be at the top of the list, and then a couple of different offensive line things. I do divide them. Who is the left tackle in 2024 between the 3 guys that it could be on the roster right now, and replace Luke Fortner. Like, I don't think he needs to be the center for the football team in 2024 and going forward with how bad 2023 went for him.
Yeah, I'd say Josh is number one with a bullet. Obviously, you have to figure that out. And I wanted to talk a little bit about consistency. So I'll move the one that you talked about to number two, because to me that was the thing that just that urgency, that not valuing every moment.
Right, there's different ways it shows up.
Right.
But it's all in the
Doug talked about it
same
all
category.
year. It's the same thing, and I get the offensive line part, and it's important, but without the part that we're talking about, I'm not sure all the details matter that much. But you got to, whether it's offensive line, whether it's personnel, whether it's changing what they're doing, they must be able to rely on the run next year. Figure out, and if that's improving the interior of the offensive line personnel, which to me that's what you do. That's got to be done. You can't go through a season not trusting to be able to run again.
Wing T offense as well. Just
no doubt.
Full-time wing T is probably the way to go. Bring in
Matt
Pockets.
Hayes is a big wing T guy.
Pockets will coach him up.
I'll run the veer. How
the
about
veer?
that? Yeah.
Whatever, man. Just win. If you win, we'd love it. We'd be like, we're the baddest veer team in the AFC, baby. We just want to win, honestly. Like, we should have been doing this for years. The veer. Let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Tire Outlet. Tire Outlet is now hiring. Visit tireoutlet.com/careers. Equal opportunity employer.
All right, Matt Hayes is here. Hello, Matthew. How are you?
You could get a couple of those Bowles disciples, Corky Rogers disciples, and run their wing team.
Or Bob Williams in Orange Park back in the day.
Back in the
ran the
day.
wing tee right to the state semis.
Matt, in terms of fixable things, right? What are your top 3 bullet point things for the Jags this offseason?
Protect the quarterback. That's number 1. Number 2, I think Doug needs to work more with Trevor Lawrence, too. I think he needs to work more hands-on with Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
And if that means he's got to focus more on that than other things, I'm all right with that. As long as you get a DC that's experienced and knows what he's doing, I'm okay with that. And then, like John said, the offensive line's got to be a huge, huge issue, both in the run game and pass pro.
No Josh Allen in that top 3, huh?
I think it's a given. I think that's a given.
Well, then you got a top 4. So is that, if that's a given, is that number 1? Is that the number one thing?
But givens don't count.
Sure they do. You got to you get 3 things to fix, and whether it's a given or not, you don't get a freebie.
But I don't know. But are you fixing him or are you just signing him?
That if you're not, you're creating a problem, right?
I think you just sign him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think we all agree. I mean, look, there's certain areas that
in some capacity
need improvement.
He's going to be franchise or he's going to be signed.
Right, one way or the other.
So we'll see.
And then it becomes, what do you do with Calvin Ridley, and how do you do it with Calvin Ridley, and what's the timing of when you do it with Calvin Ridley, and all that. Honestly, the best thing for this team would be to get Josh Allen signed to a long-term extension that doesn't crush you in the first year salary cap-wise, gives you a little bit of extra flexibility.
Because the tag makes perfect sense for Calvin, but it's hard. You obviously can't use it if you use it on Josh.
Right, and if you don't, and there's thoughts that if you do tag Calvin and he doesn't sign it till after the draft, that maybe that compensation, because you haven't technically signed him to an extension,
right,
you're still only giving up the 3rd-round pick to Atlanta.
That's
that there are some technical ways around that. I don't know.
I didn't realize that. That's kind of cool.
That's what people, that's like D-Rock and Shipley have suggested, that they think that that's a way around that potentially.
That's my understanding, not
because if you
sign
the franchise tag, if you're Calvin Ridley, that to me is you've signed an extension. Like, so if you sign that before the draft, you're going to have Calvin Ridley on board to play that game with you. And it's certainly within his right to go out there and sign that tag as soon as it's applied, if it were to go that way.
That may or may not be collusion. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I don't think
that's throw that out.
I don't think that's collusion at all. If you work with a player, it's like going to a player and saying, "Hey, would you restructure your contract so we can sign another free agent?"
You're kind of keeping Atlanta from getting that second pick.
Absolutely, you're keeping Atlanta from getting that second pick.
That's what I mean by collusion. I think that might be.
I don't think that. I put it this way. I think
they
get
walk
away
that
with
line a lot, where they release players that they know aren't going to go. It's like, we know teams may call you. We're bringing you back.
Right.
Like, they do that kind of thing all the time anyway. It's like, is that collusion? Or is that just good business?
But the player would be well within his rights to say, okay, and then turn around and not.
He absolutely could. You're absolutely right. And that's why it's not collusion. Because you can say anything you want, and once that contract's in front, you can't prohibit Calvin Ridley unless you pull the franchise tag off.
Oh, I agree. I just said the Falcons will not be happy.
Good. I don't care about the Falcons. You know what? Maybe we can let Balky pick for him too, whatever selection that would be. What do you guys have coming up today?
We got Jags. We've got JR, Jim Ross, talk a little AEW, and of course we got our doc. We're going to break down injuries in sports.
All right, Matt, have a good show.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. There he goes, Skinny Matt Hayes on the way out the door. Johnny O, what you got coming up rest of the week?
Going to tape a little Jaguars reporters this afternoon. That'll be available on the website. And then we still have Jags AM tomorrow morning, and then we'll be shutting it down for a little bit, just monitoring the news.
We have decided that we will welcome John back on Wednesdays on a trial basis.
Yeah, trial
week-by-week trial basis.
It's a week-to-week league.
He's only been here as long as we have, so I kid people. All right, if you didn't get in today, guess what? There's always tomorrow. Mike DeRocco will join us, and we'll crown the Breakfast Bowl champion tomorrow for the year. Tommy Mack on Friday as we continue to work through
it's not DeRocco, is it?
No, it is not.
He'll be. By the way, I haven't got that text on what you want for breakfast from
Not
DeRocco.
yet.
I'm expecting it
he's
soon.
buying
though. He's buying final
for
time
the whole year.
He
he lost this
It's
week.
a weekly thing on who buys.
Does he lose every?
He did. I think he finished in last place overall, though.
Yeah, he's a loser.
He's a big fat loser.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Pretty much. All right. I'd call him that to his face, and he'd return the favor, and it would be well accepted. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to for all of you for tuning in, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. I'm sure we'll fix the Jags in the next 2-hour episode of Jaguars Today right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
It's another weight loss